team.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of Orange Peelers. Week 3, round 1 is officially in the books. It took long enough for it to end. How are you going, Joel?
Yeah, no, I'm good. Thanks for having me back in the hot seat. It's good to be here.
Obviously, no worries on the weekend. Is that good? Because it means I didn't get smashed again.
I just enjoyed 6 games of rugby league, and I actually, after 0-2 in the first round, I tipped 6 out of 6. So
Huge.
I was pretty happy with that. Everything went to plan. I made the last minute change to take the Rabbitohs over the Dolphins, and it just paid off. But I was happy that rugby league is back, and I did watch every single minute of every single game. So it was great. How was your weekend?
It sounds like you're just reading a Fox League ad, and I love it. Every single minute live and ad free.
Yeah, Jesus.
My weekend, does it get better?
Well,
Rugby league's back. The Bulldogs are back in the winning circle. You lose a semi-final, Joel, in September. That haunts you for months. I haven't slept since mid-September last year. So to finally come out, get a win, I've moved past it. 2024's dead. Dogs are winning the comp this year.
Yeah, I know, because, last week you were saying you were hesitant whether they would win. Obviously, you were, blind faith supporting the Dogs through and through, but wow, they were very impressive. It was a great watch. There was definitely for me, there was game of the round as well, as a unbiased supporter of the game. And I thought it was great. Looked like a great time out there for most fans at Cogra. Obviously, there's a bit of controversy with the meat pie gate, but it's good to see the NRL's jumped on there and I think cleaned everything up there. Besides the guy's shit. But,
hopefully they can get him in New Jersey. I did hear that the Dogs had gone and looked after him and gave him a tour of Belmore, let him meet some players and stuff. I don't know if the players washed his shirt for him, but that's something. I will say as well, I appreciate the messages, guys, but no, it wasn't me that had the pie thrown at me. But yeah, as you said, a fun day at Cogra for most people, not for the Dragons fans who all left early, sucked in. Nothing beats the good old, is there a fire drill chance on the hill? I was happy with it. I feel like the Dogs aren't getting a good enough rap from the game. I feel like they were way more dominant than the score suggests as well, especially like the first 60, 65 minutes. Like it was 28-6 after 50 minutes. Satilia just scored his second try. And I was on the hill just going, are we about to put 50 on these losers? And then we didn't put 50 on them. We didn't score again after that moment. But I feel like if you watch the game and if you're paying like super close attention like I do when I'm watching my own football team, a lot of the Dragons tries, 2 of them specifically, that came late in the game also came when like Critter wasn't even in the defensive line. He was down with cramps. So as the blind, the one-eyed Bulldog supporter that I am, I'm going to just chalk those ones down as, hey, they don't count. We weren't defending properly. It was 13 on 12. I'm not too concerned about, like, there's a lot of talk of, they played good, but they fell off at the end. Is there concerns? I feel like, well, Critter wasn't in the defensive line, so I'm not too worried about that. Overall, very good game. I feel like they picked up where they left off last year with just a dominant performance of the defensive system, only leaking 6 points up until late in the game. And obviously when you're up 28-6 round 1, like the Storm did to the Eels, Q in the rack. But I was very happy.
You gotta, you take a round 1 win regardless of the score, especially the occasion of it as well. Clearly a bit of a rivalry there between the Bulldogs and the Dragons. On the hill, watching it on TV, it looked awesome. Like those suburban stadiums, I'd love to get out to Cogra at some stage this year. I just realised that I won't be able to get to Belmore this weekend, and I won't be able to get there for the whole year, which is a bit disappointing. As there's only one game, but it looked like a great day. And Saturday, 5:30 p.m. It was just it was great viewing for myself. Yeah,
perfect time slot for the suburban footy. Even like you look at the Manly Cowboys game, the packed hill at Brookvale. It's just peak rugby league, and a lot of people, and I'm included here, you want bigger, more professional stadiums. You want games not played at like Bush League level stadiums, but at the same time, that is just the beauty of rugby league, that you can have a packed hill, and it just adds a bit of a vibe to the game. Like nothing, as a Bulldogs fan, Belmore this weekend, nothing beats that, just because you can't like describe just what the vibe is at Belmore. There's just vibe. That's the only way to put it, and it's almost magical. But as I said, just very happy to get the round one win. As you said, you're always happy to win round 1. It's the second time the Dogs have won in round 1 in 13 years.
Wow.
So they don't do that. So it's nice to just start the season 1-0. If they can beat the Titans this week at Belmore, it'll be the first time since 2016 they've started the season 2-0. So, you start getting on a bit of a roll early. My premiership hopes. I'm here 2 weeks ago going, Storm are winning the comp. Nobody's coming close. And it looked that way on the weekend. But, man, the hopes are up there for the Dogs. I think all the nerves I had heading into the season, they're still there. Still a little bit there, but I feel like I've definitely got more confidence that the Dogs will be playing finals again.
Well, fair enough as well. They looked really good, the Dogs. I feel like, for me, watching every game of the round, I'd have to say the power rankings would be a clear top 5.
Yep.
Which would be, no particular order, Penrith, Broncos, Manly, Storm, Sharks.
Yeah.
Oh, actually, no. I'd say top 4. I'd go the top 4, and then I'd put Sharks and Bulldogs on their own level.
Yeah.
Probably just one bit back. Obviously it's hard to gauge the Sharks because they have only played Penrith, and it'll be a bigger test for them this week against the Cowboys. Well, they should be able to pump them.
Yeah.
It looked like there was a bit of a split. And even you could even argue that those 6 teams look like they could be locked in for the top 8. Early days, obviously a lot can happen, but who's going to fill the other 2 positions? Not a clue.
Yeah, literally.
Yeah, that was my take of the round. Yeah,
I couldn't agree more. I think the way you've split them is literally that top 4 above and beyond, and then Sharks and Dogs. Sharks, because they played Panthers, and they went toe to toe with Penrith. You could almost push them into a top 5, and then I think Dogs sit just outside, and then there's those 2 spots to fill. So. It's exciting. I know Warriors, they'll be there at the end of the season. For sure.
Look, they'll be there or thereabouts. I'm thinking this week it's going to be big. Jazz Tavanga's homecoming to Mount Smart Stadium as well. He actually looked really solid in the weekend playing hooker, which he used to play as a younger guy, and he's sort of, put a bit of size on, moved into more of the middle forward utility role, but he looks really solid out there, and he's obviously got a great pack with Manly, and at the start of the season, my prediction was Turbo, Dally M, and Manly to be pretty good. And I'm feeling pretty confident about that after the performance from Manly in the weekend. Yeah. Not feeling confident about Manly taking on the Warriors this weekend, but hey, look, we'll just have to see what happens.
You mentioned off the jump that you went 6 from 6 in your tipping.
Yeah.
And your prediction of Manly heading into the season looking good. We both tipped Storm to win the comp. They're looking very good. I feel like might have to rename the podcast because I went 8 from 8 in tipping as well.
You went 8 from 8?
Yeah, I went 8 from 8 for the first time in my life.
Oh, wow. Did you? I thought you were on the Sharks in the first round.
In my work tipping
combo, how many tipping
comps
do you do?
Sorry, you've called me out. So in my work tipping combo, I went 8 from 8, which is 16 points. Yeah. And then in the only other tipping combo I got 16 points, but 7 out of 8 because you get 2 points for a hot tip where you pick the biggest margin. So you've called me out. In one of my tipping comps, it was 7 from 8, but still, that's pretty good tipping from us.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
And I'm thinking, are we going to have to rename the podcast?
To...
I don't know, but we're clearly better
than the crystal ball or something?
I don't know, crystal ballers. I think maybe we start giving our tips at the end of the podcast for people to follow.
Yep, yeah.
That could be a shout.
I've already locked my tips in for my work tipping competition, and I'm in a couple of tipping competitions, and I thought...
Are you in more than 2?
I'm in 2.
Okay.
But I'm just going to run... I'm just going to go with the same tips across the board, just so I can just really follow myself and hopefully take them both out this year.
To be fair, the only reason I had Panthers in the work one is because I tipped them before everyone got ruled out, and then that's when I switched to Sharks in the actual tipping comp because I was like, I think Sharks will win now that Panthers are missing everyone. Yeah. So it was an accidental Penrith tip, and I'm just riding it.
Oh, exactly. And we'll talk about it at the end, but it seems like this week. It looks like an easy round to tip, but I'm kind of hoping that because it is the NRL, anything can happen, that there's a few upsets this week. It'll be good to see.
Just back on the Bulldogs-Dragons game before we move off it, Christian Tuipulotu.
Wow.
His try celebration, he scored a hat-trick, which normally that is something to celebrate, but when you're down 28-10, I don't know if you should be celebrating. I feel like maybe it's biased as a Dogs fan, but I think, hey, get off your high horse. You just crashed over the try line where the centre wasn't even defending, who's like the best defensive centre in the comp. You've beat Blake Wilson, who is only playing because the starting wing is out. I love Blake Wilson. He's a great player. But let's call a spade a spade. He wouldn't be in that side if Jacob Kraz was playing. And I'm not trying to put him down. I'm just trying to put Christian Tuipulotu down. Chill. Relax. What was your take on it?
I think it's great. I think I think try celebrations are great. I mean, we were watching as I was at a bar. I was thinking, what is going on? I'm not sure whose money he's given. I'm not sure if it was something. If he's got, I don't know if he's getting paid by tries. I don't know if his mates were on him first try scorer, anytime try scorer, whatever. But it was good. I think try celebrations are great. I used to love the element of soccer, and I used to love football, soccer, whatever you want to call it, and like FIFA playing and doing celebrations. Tim Cahill doing the classic celebrations, and of course Try July. I reckon try celebrations, they need to bring them back. And Christian Tuipulotu, he might just be just doing that and doing it in a big way.
I will say, like 99% of the time, I love try celebrations. I've always been of the belief of bring them back. I want try celebrations outside of July. I love them. But, like, read the room. When you're down 28 to 10 and you've crashed over against, 12 men, like, nobody's there defending her, I think just there was a bit too much carrying. He was almost doing, 3 different try celebrations at once because he was doing these ones and then also these ones. And it's like, just pick one.
Just give
do
him
one
money.
celebration.
He was fired up. And, I mean, he played well. He did score 3 tries. He was one of the highest Supercoach scoring players of the round. And look, I'm thinking this weekend in a competition we're a part of, Try Scorer Bingo, where you got to pick all the try scorers. I think Christian Tuipulotu, he could be a good shout for me against the Rabbitohs.
I think. I was going to say I think I picked him, but no, I picked a Rabbitohs player. But when he scored his 3rd try, I was thinking, could he be top try scorer this year? Because the Dragons, they're not going to be scoring heaps of tries, but that left edge is looking very good. Bulldogs are one of the better defensive sides. Like last year, they were the 2nd best defensive side. So if he's scoring 3 tries against the Dogs, could he push for that?
He's always been a good finisher. He's obviously a big, strong winger. Like no one really can stop him 10 metres out. So it's actually not a bad shout.
And just on try celebrations quickly before we move on, you mentioned Try July, how you love try celebrations. Is Christian Tuipulotu the greatest try celebration of all time? And if not, what is the best try celebration ever?
I mean, I think it's great when they bring back Try July. For me, I think of a few ones. I think this is probably even pre-Try July. The Greg Inglis Goanna or whatever it is.
We're not meant to talk about that here.
That's shout out to Zane as well.
Yes.
But, that is just, that's great. You see him crawling around the ground. I mean, Mick Ennis, when he did the selfie of the rugby ball. What's bloody... The Dragons hooker, Fatty Liddell or whatever his name is.
Piggy?
Piggy. Sorry, not Fatty. Sorry. Piggy, not Fatty.
Call that Piggy.
Not Fatty. But when he jumps into the crowd as well. There's heaps. I'm kind of struggling to come to mind. I think the Warriors added the coconut cutting one as well, drinking that. Any that stick out for you?
The grenade in Origin's a classic.
Yes.
Brian Fletcher's grenade. I think just an old reliable one is the lawnmower. Blake Wilson and Reid Marnie have done that for the Bulldogs in the past, which is weird because they both have white headgear. So it's like an identical try celebration. One that comes to mind, I'm not calling it the GOAT try celebration, but nostalgic for me is Ben Barber. He used to do the X Factor one, which was like, once he did that, the next couple of weeks at school, if you scored a goal in soccer or hit a 6 in cricket or scored a try, you were going straight into the X Factor to copy Ben Barber. I hate Jared Hayne. But the Hayne plane deserves a shout out, I suppose, because that's outside of Try July. Which is like bonus points.
That's one of the most iconic ones, the Hayne plane. Yeah.
And then my personal favourite, once again, not the GOAT, but my personal favourite is when Braden Burns hit the gritty against the not Redcliffe, you're not meant to call them that, but when Braden Burns hit the gritty against the Dolphins, because I actually made him do that.
Really?
Do you want to hear that story?
Yeah, this seems like a great yarn.
Yeah, so it was Try July, and the Bulldogs posted very early in July, Braden Burns, happy birthday, whatever, as teams do. And I jumped in the comments section and I was like, at Braden Burns, can you hit a gritty for Try July and for your birthday? Hit a birthday gritty. And then I put on my story, everyone go tag Braden Burns, tell him to hit the gritty for his birthday for Try July. And heaps of people did it. He didn't like any of the comments or anything or reply, but heaps of people did it on the Bulldogs post. And then a couple weeks later, his first try since that post, he scores and hits the gritty. And I claimed it. I feel like that was my doing.
Yeah, well, that is a pretty cool story, to be honest. I mean, I'm just thinking of thinking of celebrations. If you were to score a try in rugby league in the NRL for the Bulldogs, playing on the wing, what celebration would you do?
That's a great question. What would I do? I remember, like, I went to, I'm not trying to flex here, and this is actually this is Orange Peeler's law, so it's not a flex, but I went to Uni Nationals a couple of years ago, and it made us not do a grand final preview because my flights got cancelled. That's why it's Orange Peeler's law. But we had a rule where you had to do a try celebration after every single try scored. Everyone had to do it, and you couldn't repeat them. And I think the first one I did might have been the gritty, which is like kind of cringe because it's a Fortnite emo. But yeah. I don't know. I'm about that. I did the Gutho, which I hate the Eels. I hate Clint Gutherson, but I did the Gutho Arena.
Oh,
that's classic.
That's a great one.
An original Winston Never one I did actually, so I'll go with this. I'm just trying to, speak my thoughts. This is what I'll go with. You get the ball, put some sauce on it, bite it, hot dog.
The hot dog?
The hot dog.
What, mayo? Oh, sorry, not mayo.
Yeah, no mayo.
Mustard?
I'm not a mustard guy. This was controversial on the Bulldogs post today.
I did see that.
Where they were saying mustard. No, I don't like mustard on a hot dog. I'm only tomato sauce.
Justice for the mustard, they're calling it.
Yeah. Or you could do put the sauce on and then throw the ball at someone and you call it the dragon.
Yeah. Love it.
It's a meat pie, not a hot dog in that situation. What's your try celebration?
Probably just the...
Oh, yeah?
Just at the...
Do you have haters?
Straight down the camera. Yeah, there's
classic.
Connie Harrell and Manu Vatuvai, they used to do the classic casting to the camera, which is quite a good one as well. So that'd be up there for sure.
Yeah, I rate that. Surely the coconut.
Yeah, maybe the coconut. You never know.
Yeah.
Just for the Usos back home.
I feel like a team that should have been pulling out the try celebrations on the weekend, two of them actually, the Broncos and the Storm, they have given us the first elimination from the NRL because they didn't lose by 50. They put 50 on the Roosters and the Eels respectively. Just not a defeat you want to see ever. Not a defeat you want to see in round one. Not a defeat you just want ever purely because you don't want to lose by 50. But then also you could almost call it the curse of the stat where no team has conceded 50 and gone on to win the comp.
Put a line through them. Their premiership hopes are just done already after 1 week. I mean, if you're the Parramatta Eels, your premiership hopes, you don't really have any anyway because you haven't won in 40 years. But what's your take on the Roosters and the Eels being finished for the season? Should they be playing football for the rest of the year? Or should they pack it up and just move on to next season? I reckon wrap it up. All the season ticket holders, wrap it up. Hainsey, cancel your flights. Don't even bother flying across the country to see them. But yeah, I know it's pretty grim scenes for a few teams. I mean, you'd almost chuck the Cowboys in there. They didn't concede 50 because Turbo just reined it in for the last 20 minutes. But yeah, I know it's an interesting one watching the Roosters. I mean, I was watching it on my phone at a dinner table, and when they scored that first try, I thought they could be on.
Yeah,
and there's promising signs there because Robert Toya, he looks great. I mean, they still have such good players in the side. They were unlucky with Radley going off. Yeah, Dom Young still looking somewhat solid, but it's just I don't know. I'm not sure what the Roosters are going to do. They need to sign someone. And then the Eels, they were in all sorts. They both caught two teams in very, very hot form, and the Storm were just unbelievable in that first half. They were just dangerously good. I mean, every time Pappy touched the ball, something happened. Yeah. They could have scored a few more. Seems like he didn't pass to Munster on purpose as well, which is I mean, fair play to him. But I don't know. It's pretty grim scenes. The Eels, they just had their best player, or one of their marquee players, sign the biggest deal in history, which we'll talk about later, I'm sure. But it's grim scenes, the Eels, and I don't know. I wouldn't want to be an Eels fan. Wouldn't want to be a part of the team right now. Yeah,
and we said last week, to the Eels' credit, nobody's beating the Storm in round one. They're just a team that doesn't lose in round one. The way they just came out and they're just so polished, they're so perfect. They had the big four playing, which we touched on last week. But at the same time, I don't care if you're playing the Storm round one. Don't lose by 50. Come on. If there's ever a week to not lose by 50, it's round one. Because, it's just such a well-known stat. You just can't win the comp if you do that.
I mean, you do give them a bit of exemption just because they didn't have Moses.
Yeah, but of course.
Look, they still would have lost by maybe 40. But yeah, I know. Conceding 50 is it's not good. They sort of showed up in the second half a little bit. They had a bit of guts about them. And, they've made a few changes. So, I don't know. It's not looking good for the Eels. They could be eyeing down the barrel of a wooden spoon finish this year.
And to be fair to the Storm, like they took all their players off in the second half.
Yeah.
So it was a bit rough. And as well, like Mitch Moses isn't defending 50 points.
Yeah.
He's not there for his defense, but it would have been, you'd assume just a bit more direction.
It is wild with the Storm. They just have, obviously they have the spine,
Yeah.
and which is just exceptional, but then they just have all these players who stand up. Nick Meaney, unbelievable. Yeah. Jack Howarth, great. Both the wingers, especially Coates, were flying. Mm-hmm. I mean, they still have Nelson Asafa-Solomona to come on. Yeah. Harry Grant looking good. Tyron Wishart was quiet. Jerome Hughes, arguably quiet.
Yeah.
Like, there's this, it's a scary amount of firepower in the Storm lineup this year. And I mean, the predictions are looking pretty good.
I think just, and like, not to just sit here and just talk about the Storm too much, but just the way that they have these 4 gun players, and this is ignoring the centers and the wingers who can also break open games. But like if Cameron Munster's having a quiet one, you have Grant, Hughes, perhaps. If Hughes is having a quiet one, you have the other 3. It's just almost unfair. And it was similar with the Broncos against the Roosters, where like Reece Walsh had a quiet game for his standards, but Ben Hunt can break open the game. Adam Reynolds can break open a game. Corey Pakes apparently, Payne Haas obviously we know, but like Pakes had a blinder. Just some of the
Shibasaki, Goshikowski, whatever his name is. They got some great names in there as well.
It's just insane. But yeah, Roosters and Eels put a line through them. They can't win the comp, which I personally love to see. I'm not complaining, but it does make me think that would be up there as some of the worst losses for those teams. Just purely 50 points round 1, nightmare stuff. What are some of the worst losses you can think of? It can be Warriors, or it can be just anything. I'm sure like we both have some for our own teams. But
yeah, look, I mean, I'll just go straight off and just say probably the worst loss I've ever seen. Anzac Day 2020, whatever it was, 2021 or 2022. And the Storm put 70-10 on us. I don't even know how we scored 10. But it was just a cruel day. I believe we were wearing like the green jerseys as well. I think it was like an Anzac Day special jersey.
Yeah.
And it was grim scenes there.
I remember that one. There's always those losses where it's so bad that you actually do remember it. And I remember watching the game, and I had to go to Kmart afterwards, and it got so bad. I'm like, well, I'll just go to Kmart now. And I remember just checking the score at Kmart, just refresh, another try, refresh, another try. I think Josh Adokar carved up. I think he scored a sick try. Just nightmare stuff. When you said Anzac Day, I thought you were going to say the Titans one last year.
No, that was
There's a few to choose from.
Yeah, that wasn't on Anzac Day last year. That was the Titans. Well, we lost the Titans in a sick beat on Anzac Day in Auckland, and then which we should have beaten. Tanner Boyd was the star of the show, but then we go over there and a Saturday night in the Gold Coast. Just grim scene. 60-6. The Titans, who I think were bottom of the table at the time as well. And it's like, that was I didn't even watch. I remember I watched the first half and then I just turned it off, checked it. I was like, oh, fuck. Not good. Yeah. What's your one?
I've got
I mean, you're a Doggies fan. You must have a
Doggies. Few. Yeah, no, literally the 2023 season. You can almost just pick every single week. I'm going to veer away from the Bulldogs and we'll swing back to the Bulldogs though, because this isn't going to be therapy. And if I sit here and just talk about all the Bulldog big losses, it will be. My earliest memory of like a huge loss was when Sharks beat the Knights. It was like 66-0. So do you remember that? It was years ago. And that was when I first realised like, oh, teams can like score 60. It might have even been 72. It was a lot.
Yeah.
And I think it might have been that 2016 Sharks side as well, and just carved up.
Yeah.
And then another one that comes to mind as I continue to project my heartbreak onto other teams, the Tigers and Cowboys 23 or 24. I think 2023 where Cowboys flogged Tigers and then Tigers flogged Cowboys or vice versa. They just flogged each other. That was just absolutely hectic. The fact that they did it to each other in the same season, hectic as well. And then personally, the Bulldogs. Sorry, I'm just about to get emotional. Let it all out.
Let me build it into it.
So we played at Shark Park, like mid-2023, and we conceded it like 48 or 52, just got flogged. It wasn't close. We had a couple players out to Origin, like Josh Adokar and Birdo. And even then, even if they were playing, it was a horrible team in 2023, but that just makes it worse. The fact you're missing your two best players. And we got flogged by 40 or 50 points. and like leaving the game, and like I've vlogged the whole 2023 season. I'm on record. I was like leaving the game going, that is easily the worst live football experience of my life. It was the biggest loss the Bulldogs had when I was there in person. We have the bye the next week, and then we come out the week after and we lose 66-0 to the Knights.
Grim scenes.
The Knights worse than the Sharks.
Yeah.
A higher score, and literally heading into the game, I remember I was doing like a little bit of a collab with the Bulldogs for the first time, and we're going around interviewing like all the fans and like giving pre-game predictions, going like the Dogs should win this game, we should win. I think we might have been favourites as well. Like this was such a winnable game, and then to lose, not just lose, but then lose 66-0. It was like 30 or 36-0 at half time. Everyone was just like ropeable.
Turn it off.
Literally, like I sit in the kennel and it was full. And it was empty at the end of the game. Like it was empty. The crowd booed at halftime. They booed at full time. My dad, who like runs marathons, he's like ran ultra marathons. He's ran like hundreds of Ks through the Simpson Desert over like 6 days. Like he's done everything you can, like in terms of running to yourself, mentally, physically. And he literally was like, after that game, he said that was harder than running a marathon.
Yeah.
Sitting through that game was harder than running a marathon. And it was just horrible. And to be there in person for that,
yeah, good times.
Not ideal. Yeah, great times. We won the next week.
Yeah, I just looked up the went to the stats book and found the top 10 biggest defeats. The biggest of all time, 74-0. The Cowboys over the Tigers, 2023.
Yep.
Second, Eels over the Sharks, 74-4 in 2003.
74 is crazy.
It is.
That's crazy.
Third, Warriors.
Oh no!
Over the Roosters, over the Rabbitohs. Sorry, yeah.
Oh, Matt
defeated the Rabbitohs 66-0 over in Sydney, 2006, and then you got two of the Bulldogs losses, 2021, 2023.
What's the 2021? Oh, Manly
66-0
in COVID.
Yeah, I mean, just looking down. Luckily, that's the last of the Bulldogs and Warriors on there. But
I'll give you a stat. I assume you're going on. I assume that's NRL era.
Yes,
because I'll give you a stat off the top of my head. The Bulldogs do have the biggest loss in NRL history out of any team. In their founding year, 1935, if you want to try and pull up the actual score, if you want to give it a Google, Bulldogs Dragons 1935, they lost like 92-6 or something. You can get the actual score.
91-6.
91-6.
11th of May. What a day! What a day it was. 1935.
Yeah, Bulldogs' first year. They won 2 games that year somehow. 91-6, and tries were only worth 3 points back then.
Jeepers.
Which just makes it so much worse.
So, yeah, wow.
Yeah, I'm just glad I wasn't alive to sit through that one. Shout out to my, I don't know, grandfather or great-grandfather who had to sit through that.
Yeah.
Tough times. Is that enough of just...
That's enough. I think look, I don't want to talk about this touchy situation with the Warriors position this year, so I reckon move on quick.
Yeah, we'll move on quickly then. Speaking of tough times, if you're an Eels fan... I don't know if it is tough times. We'll get into it. Dylan Brown has signed a mammoth, monster, any word you can think of that means bigger than big. That's what this deal is. Gargantuan. If that's a word, it's gargantuan. He's signed a $1.3 million deal with the Newcastle Knights, not just for a year, not 2 years, a 10-year deal. $13 million over 10 years. It is the equal biggest contract in the NRL. It's the biggest deal ever when you look at the total amount. It ties the current record for highest paid player, which is Kalen Ponga, the Knights fullback. How does that work with their salary cap? We'll get into that. But what are your just initial thoughts of Dylan Brown signing with the Knights on $1.3 million? Obviously, for Dylan Brown, what do you think? For the Eels, what do you think? And for the Knights and their fans, what do you think?
I mean, for Dylan Brown, I think it's unbelievable. He's a 25-year-old New Zealander who's just moved away from home at 15 years of age, I heard. And he's cracked it, and he's literally set up for life. His family's set up for life. So good on him. I mean, the Knights, it's an interesting situation because they're going to have this kid when he's 35 still playing for him. You never know. In 10 years' time, we could look back and it could be the biggest deal of all time. Like, he has so much potential to be a good player. He has potential to grow into a 7 as well, I think. Look, obviously, everyone's coming out. Joe John's coming out saying he's a 6 through and through. It's nothing wrong. It's just he's not a 7. But you never know. He can potentially grow into that. And I think it's going to be exciting for the few years that he does play with Kalen Ponga before Ponga goes to like the Roosters or something. But, I think it's going to be good. And I'm not quite sure how it works, the salary cap, but I have heard that someone like Jackson Hastings is on 800K.
Yeah.
So that will, they're probably going to axe him this year. They'll axe a couple other players and they'll make space for Brown. And look, I hope it goes well. It's a loss for the Eels, but the Eels will now have money to buy players. I don't know who they're going to buy, but what do you think about it?
Yeah, I think, as you've just said, basically, I think from a Dylan Brown perspective, you can't hate him for taking it because who is actually saying no to that?
Oh, exactly.
Like, it's not his fault that he's... Like, you can say what you want about if he's worth it or if he's not. My personal opinion is he's probably not worth $1.3 million. I don't think any 5'8" outside of Cameron Munster is worth that much. Matt Burton as well, obviously. But I just feel like I don't care what player you are, where you play, who you are, how old you are. If you're offered $1.3 million, if you're offered the biggest contract in the NRL, you take that.
Exactly.
And over 10 years... you take that. The stability that gives him and his family, you can't say no to that. I don't even think if you're an Eels fan or if you're the Parramatta Eels, I don't know if you're too upset about. Like, obviously you're upset that he's leaving, but under the circumstances that he's left, if you're the Parramatta Eels, you probably don't want to pay him that much anyway. It's like, as a fan, you probably don't want to pay Dylan Brown $1.3 million, but if you're Dylan Brown, you have to take that. And shout out to Dylan Brown for getting that. Good on him. He came out in his press conference today and said, he just plays as good as he can. The offer was tabled to him and he took it. And, I respect that so much. He's just doing his job. He's giving it the best that he can. If he's offered that money, he's earned it. You're only as good as what you're worth or offered.
Mate, when I got offered $1.3 million to join the Orange Pillars podcast per episode as well, I was like, I'd be stupid to take it. Yeah. I can only do as good of a performance as I need. As I can, sorry, not need. Yeah. But no, I think it's interesting. As good as I need. Mate. As good as I want to, right?
Yeah. Orange Pillars, you're just
but no, I think it's exciting for the Knights. Look, even though he might have fucked up their salary cap for a wee while, but it's kind of cool that they're going to have these great players playing together. Ponga and Brown. Sharp is going to grow into potentially the 6 or 7. Not sure what they're going to do there, but it's looking exciting. I think the Eels, big losers in this situation. They've lost a few senior players recently. Campbell Gillard. Brown, big loss. Gutho, big loss potentially. The fact that they also got rid of their young guns, Sanders and Talangi, who would have been awesome to play and sort of get in that position. I have no idea what they're going to do now, but they're obviously going to have a lot of money to throw at someone, and I'm looking forward to seeing who they do.
Well, just I've just so many thoughts to get out, but on Blaze Talangi quickly, that had hurt so much being an Eels fan or being the Eels. And Blaze, you have Blaze Talangi there. He wants to play, by all reports, this is all alleged, but he wanted to play 5'8" or fullback. At the Eels, he was sort of stuck behind Clint Gutherson and Dylan Brown. They couldn't really find a spot for him. Both players were signed. And so he looks over at Penrith. Jerome Luai has left. Obviously, he's not going to play fullback at Penrith, but he moves to Penrith to play 5'8" with Nathan Cleary, with Luai moving on. Blaze Talangi's now in reserve grade at Penrith because Jack Cole's at 6. And the Eels now don't have Gutho and don't have Dylan Brown. And you're just looking at Blaze Talangi going, if this had all just happened a little bit earlier, we'd have our 6 on an absolute bargain. Blaze Talangi was so good at the Eels.
Yeah.
Especially when he had some time in the halves, a little bit of time. I think he spent time just with Dylan Brown, he looked good. I feel like him outside Mitch Moses is a match made in heaven. They're the perfect halves to go together. And as you said, they've just lost so many now. Their identity from that 2022 grand final team is just completely different. They're 100% just now in a rebuild stage. I will say having Volkman there, I think he could work well with Moses potentially. And you still do have Mitch Moses, so it's not like you've lost your best player. Out of everyone in the grand final from that squad, you still have Mitch Moses, but you have lost Marnie, you have lost Brown, you've lost Gutho, you've lost Regan Campbell-Gillard, Isaiah Papali'i. It's just crazy. I feel like, it hurts the Eels, but as you said earlier, they do have a bit of cash now. It also gets rid of the clause thing, so they're not spending every March, April, every year having this drama around Dylan Brown because the clauses are done. Moses has I believe, re-signed to a contract that doesn't have clauses. So at least they've got rid of that drama and they can rebuild properly instead of having this 5/8 screwing them over every year. The Knights' perspective on it, I don't think he's worth 1.3 million, especially when you're already paying someone 1.3 million. I get that they're freeing up a lot of cash with players leaving, but you're still like, there's still so many other positions you need to balance out. And I just feel like if you have $2.6 million held up in 2 players that Ponga's a gun. He's won Dally M, so I'm not going to knock Ponga. But like, he hasn't won a premiership. He hasn't come close to winning a premiership. And Dylan Brown, you could argue, has come close with playing in a grand final, but he wasn't the superstar in that team. There were arguably 3 players at least better than him. I just don't know, is this the answer? Especially when you're signing him as a 7 and he's very much a 6. You have the greatest 7 of all time, the greatest Newcastle player of all time coming out and not backing him. I feel like that hurts as well in Joey Johns. I feel like it's a bit of a strange one, especially for 10 years. That's such a long-term deal for a guy that isn't even proven as a 7.
Yeah, it must have been the only way they could get it over the line. And I guess everyone has their opinions, everyone has their thoughts in it, but I'm just looking forward to seeing how they go next year. And they'll definitely be a team to watch and follow, because having explosive players like that on the same team should be good. So, hopefully for the Knights they go well, but if not, the next 10 years could be crippling for them.
Yeah, and like, it just opens the door of like, is Ponga going to leave? Is that why they've signed him to such a long-term deal? And like, some positives for Knights fans is Dylan Brown could end up being a really good 7. You also have the fact that the salary cap's increasing every year. So in 10 years' time, 1.3 is probably going to be the standard. And if Dylan Brown follows a career trajectory that they see in him, that would be a bargain to have him at 1.3. Yeah. So that, like, it could work out well. Obviously, they've done a lot of forward planning. And I promise you, the Knights have thought about it more than I have, to be fair. But just like looking at it right now, it just does seem a little bit risky, is how I'll put it. Once again, this is no knock on Dylan Brown.
Yeah.
He plays his heart out, he does his best, and he's just taking what's in front of him. So this is no knock on him at all. And I think he's a great player.
Yeah.
I think he's a fantastic player. So you never know what could come of it. I will say as well, I feel like we're almost seeing this shift, and this is like very hot takey. But like, you look at the Melbourne Storm, where they have their spine is all running players. Munster used to be a fullback. Hughes used to be a fullback. Harry Grant loves to run out of hooker. And then obviously Paps is a fullback. They have this very fullback running game-esque spine where if you need a player to run or do anything, they have all the options there. And Des Hasler, who I think is a fantastic coach, and we saw the way he sort of changed the game when he was at the Bulldogs with the ball playing forwards. Yeah, he had James Graham running a lot of shape, and now that's just the norm. You look at Isaiah Yeo, for example. I feel like Hasler, he can identify trends and jump on them. And the Titans spine this year, which we haven't even seen play yet, but you have Kinney at fullback, and then you have 2 fullbacks in the halves that are both running guys. And then not so much at hooker, but I feel like he's sort of following that Melbourne Storm mold of running. And now the Knights are sort of following it, where you have Ponga, Fletcher Sharp, who was a fullback running half, and then Brown, who, not a fullback, but a running half. Is that a trend we're sort of seeing? Are the Knights trying to play very much into the future, and they're going, in 5 years' time, this is what the NRL is going to be?
Yeah, I don't know. Peter O'Sullivan, the recruitment manager, he was the same guy that sort of set up the Dolphins. He was at the Warriors when he arguably did quite a good job. He's done a few other teams as well.
He's probably the best recruitment manager in the NRL. Yeah. I don't think you can knock that. So
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if Sean O'Sullivan, Matt Lodge, his son and stepson, or son and son-in-law, are going to be playing at the Knights in the next couple of years. But
that's a great shout.
I mean, I'm looking forward to seeing what happens. And there's been a lot of chat, and hopefully Dylan Brown can come out and play well this weekend to sort of prove his worth.
Yeah, definitely. And that's like, a lot of the knock on him is he had this chance, because the offer was tabled, reportedly. It was tabled a week or two ago. Then he had this Storm game without Moses where it's like, all right, show us what you can do, prove yourself. And they got smashed. And then all the jokes were, all right, well, Knights aren't going to sign him now. And then the Knights are like, hey, like, do you want to still come?
Yeah.
And I reckon that's where he really went, all right, yeah, I'm taking that and just locking up my
future. Get me out of here quick.
Yeah. Who would want to play for the Eels anyway, to be fair? Before we move on, do you have any other final thoughts on Dylan?
No, hopefully he goes well. Wishing him all the best.
Yeah, 100%. Wish the Knights the best. If it works out, it'll be huge. Like, everyone will look back and go, they were genius. Like, not written in stone if it's a good or bad signing yet. And for Dylan Brown, as I said, like, good on you. Like, 100% congratulations. Before we move on, what are some, just on the topic of signings, what are some, like, best signings ever or worst signings ever?
I mean, probably the best signing ever was Penrith Panthers getting Ivan Cleary, which resulted in them getting Nathan Cleary and 4 premierships and 5 grand finals. Probably a few more to come as well. I feel like that's the greatest one. You look back at the Warriors, just think talking Warriors, and the worst signings, one of them, great podcaster, one of the nicest guys that I met when he came up to me, and when I met him, when I went up to him in Magic Round, lovely guy, bloke in a bar, dead in Kemp, but he was a young guy. I mean, the Warriors probably ruined his career, arguably. Come from the Broncos, and he was supposed to be this unbelievable winger who was a great kicker, and look, he's achieved far more than I ever will in my career, but he came over here, which is a bust, and he ended up playing for the Otahuhu Leopards, which is like playing for like the local rugby league team out in like South Auckland. So interesting, and he was a bit of a bust. Also, another international player that came to the Warriors didn't do well, Sam Tompkins. Who was still a great rugby league player, and he just didn't work out well. I mean, there's been quite a few at the Warriors. We tend to sort of ruin careers and that, but those are definitely the two that stand out to me as the worst. How about yourself?
I almost just want to sit here for the rest of the podcast and just name Bulldog players that were bust, because that like 2018 to 2023 era of the Bulldogs was something else. I will say best signing. This is almost like you can mount such a strong case for. I'm going to throw out 2, and they're very hard to argue with. The first one I'm going to throw out, Cooper Cronk for the Roosters.
As the best?
As the best, yes. This isn't worse. No, this is best.
I was going to say, he literally won them a title with a broken arm.
He wins 2 comps and retires.
Yeah.
He had 100% strike rate. He had 100% strike rate in terms of winning premierships at the Roosters. I think he ended his career winning 3 in a row and 4 grand finals in a row. Just they signed him to win a comp, and they won 2 comps. I think that's such a good signing, especially just for a short period. Back end of his career. And then another one, which is more of a long-term one, Jonathan Thurston to the Cowboys.
Yes.
They sign him in 04, like for the following season. He wins the Dally M in 05, wins them a premiership 10 years later, their only premiership. I think that was just a masterstroke.
Yeah, imagine if he had been at the Bulldogs. Imagine if he'd have stuck around there. But because he won the premiership in 2004 and then gave his ring to Steve Price.
Warriors and Bulldogs legend.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, he's...
signed the game. I should have pointed that out last week when you were looking at it. I was that's signed by Steve Price.
He was a great man, Steve Price. He'd be one of the better Warriors signings as well. I mean, they've had, it kind of blanks my mind.
The second coming of Sean Johnson comes to mind as like...
Yeah, true.
You can make an argument for it.
Yeah, that would be up there as well when he came back and was on fire in 2023. But
robbed of a Dally M.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, someone like Mitch Barnett in recent times is actually a really good signing, because he's now the leader of the Warriors, and he's just totally... seems like one of their backbones, like the rocks at the side. And he was kind of in a weird position. He'd just been... When the day we signed him was like the day after he got suspended for about 2 months for elbowing someone in the head over for the Knights. And, like he's been really good in recent times. But I'm trying to think of in general players like those two you named it. Those are some of the greatest signings of all time.
You're trying to think of like Smokies, like underrated ones.
Yeah, I mean even low key for the Bulldogs, well not even low key. Josh Curran to the Bulldogs.
Yeah.
Like what he's done in the last year. Credit to the Bulldogs.
I was gonna say if we're talking like all time for like Bulldogs. At the moment, it's Terry Lamb as our club's greatest signing. Literally, like our best player ever, Hall of Famer, came from the Magpies, won so many comps for us. And Stephen Crichton, I was going to say, I think he could rival Terry Lamb.
Definitely.
If Critter wins us a comp, I think it's very hard to argue against in the modern era, coming and breaking such a long premiership drought for a club that's just usually in the past just needs success and like comes in, captains the side straight into finals. I think he could very well become our best ever signing. Another one for the Warriors,
Kane Evans.
Kane Evans. I was going to say, this is like an obvious, not obvious, but like a high profile one. Roger Tuivasa-Sheck.
Yeah, he was absolutely brilliant. And then, I mean, when he came in 2018, Dally M, he still was a great player. But another one that I actually forgot and I would actually argue this is the Warriors' best ever signing, James Maloney.
Yeah, that's a shout.
When they picked him up, he was running around the Storm reserve grade, and then picked him up. Ivan Cleary coached him, and that was the same year that we made the grand final, 2011. James Maloney, alongside Sean Johnson, fully took us there, and then pretty much after that, they didn't want James Maloney and they didn't want Ivan Cleary, so they got rid of those two. Maloney goes on to win premiership with the Sharks, with the Roosters as well, I'm pretty sure.
I think so, yeah.
And just have a great career. So getting rid of him and getting rid of Ivan Cleary, two of the biggest mistakes the Warriors ever made. But yeah, he was a great signing. Yeah.
And then just on some bad ones, because I just need to get it off my chest. Shout out to Aaron Woods, who I don't know if you've bumped into at your work, but
he's a great guy. I haven't met him personally yet, but I've only ever heard great things about Aaron Woods, and I think he listens to this podcast as well. So
I hope so. Well, I'm about to give him one of the great raps as well as one of the, because I did an internship at Triple M last year, and before I'd met Aaron Woods, obviously he signed with the Bulldogs in 2018, played a month or two, and then they let him go. I don't know how much he was on, but it's known, and he'll admit this, Bulldog fans don't like him because it was just such a dud signing. And I don't know what happened behind the scenes, but just fan perspective, dud signing. And he admits it was the worst decision of his life to join the Bulldogs. It was bad for everyone. But so heading in and having not met him, I was always a bit off him just as a Bulldogs fan, biased big Bulldogs fan. Didn't really like him because of that. I reckon within 10 seconds of meeting him,
absolute legend.
Bro, he's the nicest bloke ever. They say don't meet your heroes.
Yeah.
Don't meet your enemies. Because Aaron Woods is literally one of the greatest blokes of all time. I cannot speak highly enough of him. And I'm not just saying this because maybe he listens to Orange Peel. He's genuinely, I tell this to everyone of I went home from work that day and I was just telling all of my friends and family, just whoever, I'm Aaron Woods is the nicest guy ever. I can't hate him.
Yeah.
And that was after meeting him once. And then you meet him, you're seeing him once a week. Literally just the nicest guy. I'd love to have him on Orange Peelers. If you're watching, you want to come on, Woodsy. I'd love to have him on.
Mate, get him on. I'm sure.
Yeah. I can't speak, he's just the nicest bloke ever. And I almost don't want to put him as one of the Bulldogs' worst ever signings just because of greatest bloke. If you're a Dogs fan and you hate Aaron Woods because of 2018.
Change your perspective.
Change your mind. Change your perspective. Because if you meet him, you're going to regret all of your actions because he's just the top, most stand-up bloke ever. So that's my rap for Aaron Woods. Yeah, but also dud signing in 2018.
I love it.
And the haircut as well.
Yeah.
That was the main issue, I think. And he'll probably admit that as well. The Lord Farquaad haircut that he was sporting in 2018.
Oh, well. Yeah, well, there's just some of the great signings, some of the worst signings.
Shout out to Dylan Napa as well.
Yeah.
That's our worst. Or Michael Leisha. I could just sit here and name
Poor Michael Leisha.
Shout out to Michael Leisha. Actually, I'll show you after. I haven't shown you this.
If you're shouting him out, you're shouting Adam Elliott out as well? Or?
I didn't have a problem with Adam Elliott. I thought he was good for us. I actually liked Adam Elliott.
Have you heard the drama between Adam Elliott and Michael Leisha?
Yeah.
That's
yes.
Yeah, that's not good.
Yeah. I feel like Adam Elliott had a better Dogs career. I'll show you after. I have a match-worn Michael Leisha jersey.
Wow.
In my bedroom. I keep it away from all the big jersey collection. It's on display.
Mate, you could give one of those jerseys to the guy who got a python in his jersey. I mean, I don't know, he looked a bit tubbier than a...
Yeah. But yeah, shout out to all those players, best and worst signings. Let's go and talk about some more signings in the NRL that have come out this week. We'll start off, Tom Hazelton re-signing with the Sharks. I feel like this one isn't being talked about enough because, and obviously when it's slow news during the off-season, there's not much to talk about. Obviously, it's going to be given more headlines, but I feel like there was so much talk around Tom Hazelton where he was going to go during the off-season. And then this week he re-signed with the Sharks and nobody's talking about it.
It's a disappointing one for a Warriors fan as well because he went over to New Zealand, checked out the facilities. He would have gone out for dinner with the coach just like Kurt Capewell and a few other Aussies have done. But yeah, look, he's a great player. He's younger than he looks and just appears, I think. And he's a great signing for the Sharks. So that's a big win for them, keeping him on the books. Yeah,
huge, especially pairing with Adam Fanua. And he's just so good. Cult hero as well.
He'll be scoring a try this week.
Yeah.
I might have to lock him in.
I was about to say, that's a great bet. That's such a good shout. I have a Sharks fan, mate, Josh. He's probably watching. Big Sharks fan. And he put me onto Tom Hazelton when he first came onto the scene at the Sharks game I was talking about earlier, where my friend calls him the Shine because obviously he's bald head. And there's a soccer player they call the Shine because his head shines. And he was calling Tom Hazelton the Shine. And it's in the vlog I was talking about where my mate's going nuts being like, the Shine's on the field. He's going to score. He's going to score. Dead set. He said that. The Sharks play the ball. Tom Hazelton catches it, scores a try. Shark Park erupts. And I'm just like, oh, this guy can play. And then at Magic Round it happened as well where he scored a try. And there was a dude in front of me with like a bold cap on, Sharks fan. Everyone's just going nuts for Tom Hazelton. Cold hero.
I know, I love it. Speaking of that, actually, I did lock in. I'm going to head to Magic Round this week, this year as well. Huge. So I'm very much looking forward to that. But yeah, that's a great signing for the Sharks.
Live show for Magic Round, I reckon.
Mate, Orange Peelers live in Caxton.
We'll do it in the Caxton. We'll do it somewhere on Caxton Street.
Yep.
Surely we'll have to tee up something, some sort of Magic Round content.
Definitely.
I don't know how I feel about doing a live show on Caxton Street, just like, you know, because it just gets so busy. Just so many people.
Oh, mate, we'd have too many fans. We'd have to start selling tickets.
Exactly. We'd have to do the Fletch and Heidi in a glass box or something.
Yeah,
but
for
surely
sure.
There's some content coming there. Surely.
Stay tuned. Magic Round content coming soon.
100%. And then another signing which isn't confirmed yet, but allegedly, I don't know why I'm saying allegedly, like reportedly, I guess. It's not like they've done a crime.
Allegedly.
I mean, maybe signing with Canberra is a crime, but allegedly Jayden Brailey has signed with the Canberra Raiders.
Yeah, it's an interesting one because I feel like, I mean, he's a good player, but like they have Starling who actually looked really good in the game against the Warriors. They have Owen Paddy who's supposed to be rugby league gurus, could be anything of the year as well.
Yes.
So, I mean, weird call signing another hooker, but I think they want him to get his experience in there and train up the likes of Starling and Paddy. So yeah, I mean it's a pretty mundane signing, but I guess the Raiders fans will be happy with more players on board.
And it is a weird one because they knocked back Reece Robson, like that. That was the reports as well when he signed with the Roosters. So that's a bit weird. Speaking of Reece Robson and the Cowboys, actually, we'll jump away from signings. Their team list dropped yesterday, as did everyone's. And Jeremiah Nanai dropped.
Yep.
Just not injured, just dropped to New South Wales Cup.
Yeah.
Todd Payten says he needs to work on his defence.
He's blatantly said he's a great attacker, but he can't. He pretty much said he can't tackle, which I mean, kind of true. He's always been. There
was the knock on him last year, especially around Origin.
Yeah, I know. He hasn't really been playing that well recently. Todd Payten, is he going to be the first coach sacked in 2025? I think it's looking that way for me. But yeah, I mean, gets pumped by a great side, didn't really have that much chance, gave away penalties. Cowboys looked in all sorts, and then he just goes and drops one of their key players for a guy that hasn't played in the NRL for a few years, who's been over at the Super League, Kai O'Donnell, I think his name is. So yeah, interesting call, and I don't know, they're probably going to get pumped by the Sharks, and then he might bring him back.
Do you reckon it's warranted? Like, obviously, he does have defensive struggles, but like, you're already missing Lukey. I think Tuipulotu might still be out. Yeah. And like, he's a rep player. Like, I think I don't know if he's represented Australia, but
I think he has. Yeah, he has.
I feel like he has.
Yeah, Kangaroo, great Queenslander.
Such a high level player. They're the kind of players you almost need in your side. But maybe he's just trying to send a message and, you know, fire a rocket under his butt and get him back firing. But especially when you're about to play the Sharks. And in Nanai's defense as well, he was changed sides. I think that he got moved to the left from the right or vice versa. Like, what did you sort of expect? A guy that already struggles in defense. I talked about this last year, and it sounds so dumb, but in terms of defensive reads, Joel, and you've played footy before as well, so you'd be able to talk on it. But like, I played a very low level of rugby league for many years, and in my last year of playing, it was like under 18s or something. I was on the left wing the whole season, and I just adapted my defensive reads with my left centre to just like, we had this really good combo going. Our team got flogged a lot.
Yeah.
Our side rarely leaked tries. That sounds ridiculous.
Really leaked tries?
Rarely.
Yeah.
There was a game, we lost 76-0. And my left side, we leaked one try.
Wow.
Like, we were a defensive unit.
Yeah.
The winger on the other side, I don't know what he was eating or doing, but he had a shocker that game especially. But I just got so good at like my defensive reads on the left. I got moved mid-game late in the season to the right side, and I'd leaked more tries in that game than ever. And I'm not trying to say like I'm a great defender. And I'm not trying to say playing at under 18s for the Lithgow Workies Wolves translates to the NRL. But my point is defensive reads from left to right, they actually are completely different. It's something that unless you do it and you're in a game and you actually, experience it, you sort of don't realise. And I feel like in defence and Nanai, if you're a poor defender on the right, you're going to be worse on the left.
Yeah, I mean, he is a professional football player. He's getting paid to do this. Defence is a key part of the game. And, I mean, maybe old Peyton's got a point. He said he's got to go fix this in the Queensland Cup and he's going to stay there till he does. So hopefully it's a wake-up call and a lesson for Nanai to work a bit harder on his defence and learn how to tackle.
100%. Just another bit of team list news before we move on to our listener question.
Oh, looking forward to it.
We will do our tips because I feel like if we're going and just getting every game right, we need to give the people some love. Have you seen the Eels forward pack in New South Wales Cup?
Is it good or?
So if you've seen their first grade lineup, obviously they've dropped a bunch of players.
Yeah.
Some of these Tigers players who they come up against, I feel so sorry for. Let me read you this forward pack. Wiramu Greg.
Yeah.
Ryan Madison. He's played for New South Wales. Ryan Madison, front row.
Why can't he get in the side? Is it?
I don't know. I guess they're trying to send it. Did Madison play last week?
I don't think he did.
Yeah, that's what I'm like. It's weird. Kelma Tuolangi.
Yeah,
he's going to be out for blood after
he was pretty average and he got pulled after 10 minutes.
But he was heading into the season from a he was talked up super coach wise, ready for a big season. He's been dropped straight away. Bryce Cartwright, who at one point in the NRL was just so hyped.
The Cardi party.
Yeah, the Cardi party. And then Charlie Geimer at lock, who's up and coming, has a lot of reps on him as well. That is a hectic forward pack for Cup. If that was their forward pack just in first grade,
who's playing hooker?
You probably wouldn't look twice. Joey Lussick, who's
he's a beast as well. Yeah,
obviously if that's a first grade pack, you're not going, they're gonna dominate, but you're not really looking twice if that's first grade. They're all first graders.
Does Jason Riles know that? Has he got the teams right? Is he playing his New South Wales Cup team? Is he doing the vice versa switcher role?
Let me look at their first grade.
Yeah, well, that's a pretty scary lineup. Also, big shout out to the Warriors New South Wales Cup team last week. Got the dub, 18-16.
Huge.
Tanner Boyd, 2 or 3 try assists, I think, as well. So I think if it goes shit this week for the Warriors, they need to bring him in or bring in Tamati Martin, one of the two. But
how'd Martin go in Cup?
I think he's all good. I saw highlights of it. A guy, Moala Graham Tulfa, who played a couple games last year, he scored 2 tries, and we got the win, which is the important thing. But yeah, it's I don't know. Maybe I think the New South Wales Cup is getting stronger.
Yeah, this is just the Eels pack quickly, and it is a good forward.
Oh, we actually played the Eels last week as well.
Oh, there you go. Well, you're lucky you played them last week or not this week.
Yeah.
So they got Joe Offahengawi, Junior Paulo, Sean Lane, Jack Williams, Jermaine Hopgood.
They actually have quite a lot of depth in their forward pack.
That's plenty of depth.
Eels have no excuses here to not be good.
And they just suck.
Yeah.
They just suck. Shout out also Jordan Samrani, ex-Bulldog, making his debut this week. Another nice debut video on the Eels socials, but I'm just happy for him because he was like a Bulldogs junior coming through the grades, always had huge raps. It was a bit of a shock when we let him go. It was mid-contract as well.
Yeah.
So shout out to him getting a chance in first grade.
How about the debut videos this year? We had Tristan Hope last week. We had, obviously, did Sam Rani do one?
Yeah.
And then Bailey Brenton Harper, the Kiwi guy debuting for the Rabbitohs this week. And the social media team, they're just out for clicks this year. I'm thinking maybe I should have done one when I got the call up for the Orange Peelers. Called the family. That would have been good. That's an idea.
That is content. I'm almost like, I just want to do it now anyway.
I know.
It's I know you've been in first grade for 3 weeks now, but just let the parents know, Mum, I'm on Orange Peelers.
I know. There's definitely
that's a missed opportunity.
Yeah, I know. It's the trend of this year. Is just debut people.
It's almost like a competition in itself now. Who can produce the best reaction to a debut? We'll just move straight into our listener question. No segue.
Yeah, good.
Sorry, listeners. Jacob Hearn has thrown this question in. I've decided give him a shout out if we pick their question.
Exactly. Shout out Jacob Hearn.
Yeah, 100%. Go follow.
Son of Eddie Hearn, boxing promoter.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Potentially.
This is his question. Pick 3 players from your team to give to the Papua New Guinea side, or that you'd want to give to the Papua New Guinea side. we could sit here and we could just pick the 3 players we hate the most that we just want to get rid of.
Yeah.
I feel like
do it from a logical
I think let's be logical. Let's go 3 players that your team's not going to miss heaps. That also that would be like good pickups for Papua New Guinea. Maybe some underrated players.
And the thing about going to Papua New Guinea as well, it's tax-free money.
Yes.
So these people are going to be making bank and they're going to be protected by security guards, bodyguards. I think it's a great opportunity.
Yep.
And who
do we want to see get paid? Who could be useful for Papua New Guinea that maybe they deserve a better opportunity? We'll go 1 for 1. How does that sound?
I'll go first.
Yeah.
I think for the Warriors, Marata Niukore.
Yep.
He's a good player. I mean he's on about like 900k or something as well, which is a lot of money. And he was really good in 2023, the year the Warriors did well, but then he sort of just hasn't lived up to his potential. He's been really quiet, so he's going to be my first one. And I mean he'll be able to get a good money, good deal over there, protect his future. He's getting old, so that's why I'm sending Niukore.
Nice
to the Guinea.
I'm gonna send this player, and if you're listening, and if you're just gonna stereotype me as a typical Bulldogs fan, you're gonna say that I'm just sending him because he's our worst player. But I genuinely think this guy, he gets harsh raps. I think he deserves better. I think he's better than people say, and I feel like now that we have so much depth in the halves, he's sort of fallen down the pecking order and does deserve a better opportunity. I think he can bring value to a team, especially with his versatility, and he can go get a pay packet. Drew Hutchison.
Oh, yeah. Was he the one that you were saying was shit off air?
We what?
That you were saying off air was
No, I feel like so many people bag him, and like he's not my first choice halfback. He had time to prove himself, and he didn't really. Yeah. But I just feel like people take it out of him so much. He's not as bad as everyone says he is.
He's not that bad. Mate, I think he's a good player, Drew Hutchison. Yeah. He'll do well in Papua New Guinea.
I think he would. It's just like, I don't know. I just feel like he deserves better almost. Like almost deserves a new start with a fan base, especially that's going to appreciate him.
Yeah.
Because he just gets such bad raps when he's not that bad. So I'm sending Drew Hutchison. Who are you sending at number 2?
Look, number 2, I'm going to go send this guy, and I really do rate him. He's done a lot over his career, made a grand final in 2019 or 2021 or something when the Raiders made the grand final. It's CNK, Chancellor Coxard. I think he seems just like the nicest guy of all time. He's a great player, but I think his position at the Warriors might be coming to an end at some stage. And look, I really hope he proves me wrong, but I think he'll be able to go over to Papua New Guinea and make that Papua New Guinea cash. And he'll be a good fullback for them.
My second pick, I'm just trying to think, because I'm just looking at depth of dudes that deserve better offer. I'm going to be really smoky here and really generous to Papua New Guinea. So you guys can thank me.
Critter.
And Steven, no, we're not sending Critter, sorry. I'm going to send this player and I don't want him to leave the Bulldogs. Let me just say that. I'm not trying to say he's bad or that I want him to leave. I'm just trying to think logistically what would be a good signing that's kind of realistic. Viliami Kikau.
Oh, wow. Yeah. No, that makes sense.
I feel like, obviously, he's a Pacific Islander. He's from Fiji.
Could be a marquee player.
Exactly. It'd be a marquee signing. They would love him over there. He can go and get paid, which he deserves. He's on a big contract now. He can go and get more. And once again, I'm not trying to say I want him to leave. He's a great player for us. But I'm just thinking marquee signing. I think they'd love him over there. He'd just be such a quality signing. I think it'd make sense.
Yeah.
So that's my second.
Yeah, that's good. Good shout. I mean, my final one, I was tossing up between 2 players.
See if you can be more generous than I was.
Yeah. To be honest, I don't know if we have any better players now at the Warriors, but I've got to go Tamati Martin. I mean, he's playing a reserve grade. He's actually younger than you think he is as well. I think he's 28, maybe. Could you please look at that? How old's TMN?
He's been around for a minute.
He has, but then he obviously medically retired because he had the brain injury and then he's come back. But he's a good player, and I feel like he's underutilized at playing in reserve grade, kind of like what Cody Nikodemo was like when he was playing for the Warriors.
29,
yeah, he's an experienced 29-year-old, and Nikodemo was in the same position, playing for the Warriors in and out of the side. Went to the Dolphins. It's revitalized his career, and I think it'll be good to get Tamati Martin, over there playing some top grade footy. I think if I was to go for someone else, it'd be Ed Cossey, just because I'm not the biggest fan of the on the wing, but I'll be generous. CNK, Nia Corday, and TMM. So yeah,
some handy signings.
Hopefully we can get some players to fill the position as well.
I'm going to send another half to pair with Drew Hutchison. And once again, I don't want this guy to leave at all, but I'm just being generous. It's a guy that's down in the pecking order at the moment. The Bulldogs at the moment, they've got Birdo obviously not leaving the halves. Toby Sexton's in there. And then we have so many young halves. Obviously Mitchell Woods is coming through, who you've probably heard of. We have Joseph O'Neill there, who's a gun. And then this guy, Cassius Tia, who we signed from the Roosters.
Yeah.
He genuinely could just be in first grade this year. He's such a weapon.
Is he in the top 30 squad?
I think his development. And he's an absolute freak. He's such a good player. He was in our Jersey Flegg Premiership winning side last year.
Yeah.
But just because he's way down the pecking order, I think they'd love him over there. Because he's a gun. They're just going to love anyone that's good at, anyone exciting, or just anyone generally, to be fair, because they're just massive footy fans. But I just think he's going to be good. And the Bulldogs realistically are going to have to lose some halves. And at the moment, he's coming off the bench in New South Wales Cup. He deserves better. Because he's so good. And he played a bit of centre in the trials where he's very much a half. So that's where I'm they're struggling to find a spot for him. I think it'll be a great opportunity for him to go and just be in first grade.
Yeah, I mean that's a good point. I'm looking forward to seeing Papua New Guinea get started and seeing them evolve.
They could win the comp with some of those players that we've just sent them.
They could, I know, and you know that could free up some cap space for both of our clubs, and then we could meet them in the final over there. Yeah.
So that's
a great question. Great question.
I said on the Instagram, which if you want to put in a question for next week, get on the Instagram the day before it drops, so a Wednesday, there'll be a question sticker. I said, get creative. We're only picking one, so I'm not just going to pick a basic question. So Jacob Hearn, thank you for the question. Let's wrap it up with some tips. We didn't do this last week. And we had a sensational round of tipping.
So we're going to do it this week, and we're going to be awful.
Yeah, exactly.
Without a doubt.
Once we're going on record and there's some accountability, we're going to do horrible. Thursday night footy. This is probably the only game this week where I'm a bit iffy. Knights, Dolphins. Knights are the favourites. It's in Newcastle.
I think just because of the last words you said, Knights in Newcastle against the Dolphins, who actually looked quite good last week. They just couldn't capitalise. Whether them bringing back Nikodima and Nichols this week, Nikodima can open up the hammer a little bit more as well. Yep. So, it's such a tough one. I really do. I rate the Dolphins, but I'm going to go for the Knights. Who are you going with?
I think this year Dolphins will finish higher than the Knights.
Yeah.
Or actually, no, you know what? I take that back. I don't think they will. Sorry. My ladder prediction, I think I had them lowest. That was a dumb thing to say. I think Dolphins last week looked good, though, against Souths. Apparently they've been moved to Sydney this week because of flooding.
Yeah, that was the thing. They didn't start training till Tuesday as well.
And after last week, the disruptions, it's in Newcastle. The Knights have just signed Dylan Brown, so now their halves are having to play for a spot next year. I just think, and coming off a win as well, albeit against the Tigers, I think in Newcastle they'll just be too good under the circumstances. So I'm going with the Knights.
Nice.
Warriors, Manly.
Look,
in New Zealand.
Look. I wouldn't be surprised if the Warriors come out there and win. I'll be severely surprised if they do that. But look, I'm going to go for Manly. But I think the Warriors are going to show a bit more. They're going to be at home in a packed stadium. And there's going to be a bit of mana flying around there. But look, I think Manly were very impressive last week. And I do rate them as a good team. They do have a great record against the Warriors as well. So, I'm going to tip Manly.
Yeah, it's hard to tip against Manly, unfortunately. They're just very good. Warriors didn't look great in Vegas. Hopefully, first game in New Zealand, they can
I want them to prove me wrong. And I would be so happy. I'm happy to come on here, eat my words next Wednesday once the Warriors do.
Yeah.
And once Marata and CNK have great games.
Upset of the year just looming here.
Exactly.
Panthers, Roosters. We're both going Panthers?
Yeah, lock in Penrith.
On to the next. That doesn't even need explaining. Roosters, $9.30 on an unnamed betting company.
Wow.
Which is crazy. Dragons, Souths.
This is probably another tough one for me.
Yeah,
I'm going to have to... I was just looking at the side. No Tyrone Munro. No Jack Whiten. He's ruled out.
I'll double check that.
So, I'm pretty sure they're both out this week.
Yeah, you're right.
So, I think for me, that's a no-brainer. I'm going to go Dragons. Even though I did tip Dragons to finish last this year, I think if they can string a few more things together... And at home, in the Wollongong, I think they're going to do well. I think they're going to win against the Rabbitohs.
I'm all aboard the Jamie Humphries train at the moment.
Wow.
I'm a big fan of Jamie Humphries.
The hump.
He's got giant muscles. He's good looking.
Yeah.
He killed it for Souths. I'm calling an upset.
Wow.
I think this is like... The Dragons have it all to play for. They were so good against... Not so good against the Dogs, but they were good enough against us. They got Damien Cook and Ilias revenge against Souths as well.
Yeah.
So it's so hard to tip against Dragons, who are favourites as well,
yeah.
in Wollongong. Like, it's so hard to tip against them. But I'm just so high on Jamie Humphries.
You're going Rabbitohs?
Especially Supercoach. I'm going to tip Rabbitohs for the upset. As well, like, if I don't, I'm just going favourites in every other game, and that scares me a lot.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go Rabbitohs for the upset.
Yeah, I really liked a few players in the Rabbitohs side last week. Campbell Graham, so good to see him back. Hubner as well.
Oh, he was so good.
He was just chopping tackles. And he was a really exciting player. It's a shame old Tyrone Munro, Tai Munns is out for his fourth collarbone injury in 2 years. But
horrible.
Yeah, I think the Dragons just get that done.
Yeah. Cowboys, Sharks. Do you speak Sharks?
Yeah, I'll go Sharks. But the thing about both these teams, Cowboys up in North Queensland, Sharks, notorious chokers, so you never know. But yeah, I'll go Sharks.
Fair shout. Broncos, Raiders. Raiders, huge outsiders in this, coming off a huge win.
What's the on this unnamed betting company? What are they paying?
Raiders $4.35.
Yeah, well, look, the Raiders, they just had so many people talking them down at the start of the season because everyone needed a scapegoat. I feel like a lot of people's scapegoats with the Raiders. They came out, they looked really good against potentially one of the shitter teams, the Warriors. But yeah, I mean, hard to go against the Broncos.
Yeah.
But I don't think it's going to be as easy as their last one against the Roosters.
I agree. Like, I'm going Broncos, but like, if you're a betting man or woman, like Raiders at a line, just get them at like, it's probably like plus 12 if they're that big outs. I think it'll be way closer than people expect. Raiders looked pretty good.
Although they don't have Savage and Tapane though, which that's actually...
That explains a lot.
That explains a lot. They're like one of the most exciting players, and then they're bulky. Their guy who sort of fronts the middle. So they'll definitely miss those guys against the Broncos. Yeah, so I lock in the Broncos.
Yeah. All right, Eels Tigers is the next one. This is at CommBank, kicking off the Sunday ticket. 2 games on the Sunday. So good to be back.
Yeah.
But yeah, Tigers favourites as well, which is shocking because I reckon genuinely this might be the first time they've been favourites in, 3 or 4 years?
Yeah.
Like, not even kidding, that, like, crazy. But... yeah, do you think the Tigers win?
I think the inclusion of Kotosau, Buller and Toa, I think they're actually going to win. And
huge.
I mean, I think all those Tigers fans, the Tigers diehard, they're going to be thinking they can win the title after defeating the Eels this week. But yeah, you never know. The Eels could come out and pull a performance, but without Moses, they're going to be struggling. And I reckon Tigers, they just get the job done. They just need to be a bit more clinical than they were against the Knights.
Yeah, I think if we're judging off Parrama's performance last week, and obviously they've shaken it up a lot, which could be good. It could also be bad, and they could be worse. Based on that cup side we went through earlier, but yeah, I think Appy back, Buller back, Tigers are going to be better. And I think if Tigers play as good as they did last week and the Eels toss up the same thing, I think Tigers are going to win. So I'll back them in there to get those premature premiership hopes, as I have as a Dogs fan after beating the Dragons.
Exactly.
And then speaking of the mighty Canterbury Bankstown Bulldogs, returning to Belmore for the only Belmore game this year. Favourites against the Titans, who haven't played this year. So I'm going to be honest, I'm a little bit nervous because I'm like, the Titans could be good. I think they're one of those teams where we don't know how they're going to go. The halves are smart. It could just click. They've got a great forward pack as well. Tino return game.
Fafita's on the bench as well.
Fafita's on the bench, which just shows how good their forwards are. So I'm actually nervous in this one.
Yeah.
But we are favourites. It is at Belmore. We're undefeated this year. Like, I'll go first. I'm tipping the Dogs to win. But you'll pick up very quickly that it doesn't matter who or when or why.
Yeah.
I'm tipping the Dogs.
And that's what a good fan should do as well.
Unlike yourself.
Look, I'm tipping the Titans here.
Oh, huge. I don't hate it though. Like, if we rock up to Orange Fields next week and Titans have won, I'm going to be disappointed but not surprised.
I think the Bulldogs looked pretty good. I think they're going to be a good team. I think they're going to be pretty rock solid at Belmore as well, from what I've heard. It's a great place. You'll be there on the drums on people's shoulders again. But I predicted the Titans to finish 6th this year, predicted the Dogs to finish 7th. I think they just come out, their quicks fire, their forwards do well. And look, I think they're going to be a bit of a handful this year. So I reckon the Titans by 4 points. Break the hearts of Belmore.
Yeah. And like, I'll give you some stats. Dogs' record at Belmore was actually not great.
Oh, wow.
Like, they've won there twice.
13 plus Titans then.
Yeah. Well, like, we beat Titans there last year, like 32-0. But before that, we'd only won there like once in the past however many years. Just not a great record there. And yeah, I'm nervous. Just the forward pack. Like, I feel like the Bulldogs' weakness this year is probably going to be those biggest forward packs. And yeah, I don't know.
Tino Fa'asuamaleaui as well. Like,
his first game since Belmore last year when he did his ACL.
Yeah, he's fresh. He'll be ready to come back with vengeance. I mean, Campbell Gillard, exciting player when he's good. And I think the Titans genuinely could be a good team this year.
I think so as well.
I might be coming on here next Wednesday eating my words and they get flogged. Hopefully. But yeah, look, it's going to be a great game. I'm almost eyeing this up as another match of the round for me as well. So look, the Bulldogs are an exciting team this year. And I'm wishing you all the best. But I actually haven't told you this, but Titans are my second team as well. So
huge.
Yeah, I think the Titans, I might have to wear my Gold Coast jersey this week around Sydney.
I dare you. I dare you. You don't have a ticket to the game. Oh, no, because you can't get to the game because you're working.
I got work, unfortunately. I would have been there in a heartbeat. Yeah.
I was going to say, I dare to just walk around Belmore in a Titans jersey that day. We'll see what happens. You saw what happened to that Raiders fan last year.
Yeah, I don't know. I might get a pie thrown in there.
It's dangerous. You might have a... Well, hey, we don't throw pies. We get hit with pies, all right? If you're a Bulldogs fan at Belmore this weekend, stay safe. Watch out for the pies.
Yeah.
But that'll do us.
Yeah, that's a good call.
Yeah. All right. Up the wires, up the dogs.
Up the wires, up the dogs. Hopefully, hopefully we can be talking about a positive Warriors result on Friday.
Hopefully just some stage this year we can both come in here after a win.
Yeah. Oh, look, it probably won't. But it's been another fun one. Thanks for having me on again, man.
We'll do it again next week. Up the dogs.